In a quiet neighborhood in Accra, Ghana, children play soccer just a few feet away from smoldering piles of electronic debris, discarded monitors, wires, and shattered smartphone casings. Environmental studies conducted by Pure Earth and the Blacksmith Institute have found dangerously elevated levels of lead, cadmium, and mercury in the soil, posing long-term health risks to nearby communities. The air is thick with toxic smoke. The soil beneath them is laced with industrial poisons. And this is just the final stop in a global supply chain of electronic waste. Welcome to the silent crisis of e-waste pollution. In the last 2 decades, our world has undergone a digital revolution. Smartphones, tablets, laptops, smartwatches. Technology has become an integral part of modern life. We upgrade frequently, lured by faster processors, better cameras, and sleeker designs. Manufacturers release new models annually, sometimes even semi-annually, and consumers, chasing performance and status, discard the old at an alarming rate. But where do all these discarded electronics go? The answer is unsettling. Globally, we now generate over 62 million metric tons of e-waste each year, a figure projected to rise to 75 million by 2030, according to the 2024 Global E-Waste Monitor. That's equivalent to throwing out 1,000 laptops every second. Despite our technological advancement, only about 20% of this waste is formally documented as recycled. The rest ends up in landfills, incinerators, or is exported, often illegally, to developing nations. Let's follow the trail. In places like the United States and the European Union, strict regulations prevent e-waste from being dumped locally, but loopholes abound. Investigations by the Basel Action Network using GPS trackers revealed that many containers labeled as second-hand goods or donations were in fact full of non-functional electronics, violating the Basel Convention's restrictions on hazardous waste exports. When these containers arrive in ports like Lagos in Nigeria or Manila in the Philippines, they are unloaded into informal markets already overflowing with broken electronics. One of the most infamous dumping grounds is Agbogbloshie, a district in Accra, Ghana. It's often dubbed the world's largest e-waste site. Here, young boys and men work without protection, burning cables to extract copper, smashing CRT monitors to salvage metal, and inhaling clouds of toxic fumes in the process. The environmental toll is immense. Heavy metals leach into rivers and groundwater, air quality plunges, and the land becomes barren, poisoned by years of contamination. But the human cost is even greater. The people who live and work near these sites suffer daily from exposure to hazardous substances. Lead affects brain development, especially in children. Mercury can cause kidney damage and cognitive decline. Cadmium is a known carcinogen. Residents in these areas report higher incidences of respiratory illnesses, birth defects, chronic headaches, and skin diseases. According to the World Health Organization, more than 18 million children and adolescents are engaged in the informal e-waste recycling sector worldwide, many working in hazardous conditions with little to no protection. They melt circuit boards over open flames. They use acid bars to extract gold and other rare metals, and they do it for a few dollars a day, often unaware of the long-term damage to their health. But why is this allowed to continue? The answer lies in a mix of global trade policies, corporate negligence, and systemic inequality. Electronic waste is not just a technical issue, it's a geopolitical one. Many of the countries receiving e-waste lack strong environmental regulations or enforcement mechanisms. Meanwhile, wealthier nations benefit from the illusion of recycling without dealing with the consequences. It's cheaper to ship e-waste abroad than to manage it safely at home. This practice, while restricted under the Basel Convention, still persists. Not all countries have ratified the ban amendment which prohibits hazardous waste exports from developed to developing countries. Then there's the issue of planned obsolescence. Many tech companies design products that are difficult or impossible to repair. Batteries are glued into phones, software updates slow down older models, repair manuals are kept secret, and spare parts are locked behind proprietary barriers. Consumers are nudged toward replacement rather than repair. And once these devices reach the end of their artificially shortened life cycles, the disposal cycle begins again. It's easy to condemn the informal recycling sector, but honestly, the truth is more complex. For Millions of people in countries like India, Nigeria, and the Philippines, informal e-waste recycling is a livelihood. It provides income in regions with, very few alternatives. Communities have built entire economies around the extraction of metals from electronics. In Guiyou, China, which was once the world's largest e-waste hub, entire families dismantled devices by hand. Since 2015, however, Chinese authorities relocated operations to a regulated industrial park. While this has reduced informal activity, environmental contamination unfortunately still persists. But without safety protocols, the consequences are dire. Children show elevated levels of lead in their blood. Women suffer increased rates of miscarriage. Cancer rates are abnormally high. Still, for many workers, the choice is between poverty and poisoning. And this really highlights a key dilemma. We cannot solve the e-waste crisis without addressing poverty, inequality, and economic dependence on toxic labor. Despite the bleak picture, there are reasons for hope. Around the world, innovators, activists, and scientists are working to tackle the e-waste crisis from multiple fronts. In Europe, the right to repair movement has gained momentum. Legislation now requires manufacturers to make spare parts available and design products that can be fixed by consumers or third parties. In Japan, advanced automated recycling plants use robotic arms and artificial intelligence to disassemble electronics safely and efficiently, recovering rare earth metals that were once lost to landfills. In the United States, advocacy groups like iFixit lead the right to repair movement. States like New York and Minnesota have passed laws requiring manufacturers to provide parts and repair documentation to consumers and independent technicians. Startups are developing new technologies to recycle lithium-ion batteries more efficiently, reducing reliance on mining and lowering e-waste volume. There's also a push towards circular electronics, designing products with reuse, repair, and recycling in mind from the very beginning. Some tech companies have started taking accountability. Apple's Daisy robot can disassemble up to 200 iPhones per hour, efficiently recovering rare earth magnets, tungsten and cobalt. Samsung and Dell have launched take-back programs to responsibly recycle old devices. But real change depends on more than technology. It requires consumer awareness, corporate responsibility, and political will. The e-waste crisis may seem distant, but every electronic purchase, every upgrade, and every disposal decision plays a part. Here are a few things you can do. Think before you upgrade. Do you really need the newest model? Repair instead of replace. Look for repair guides or visit a certified technician. Buy refurbished. Many devices are as good as new and cost less. Recycle responsibly. Use certified e-waste programs such as those certified by eStewards or R2, which stands for Responsible Recycling Standards. Support right to repair laws. Push for policies that make tech more sustainable. Spread awareness, share what you've learned, and start conversations about electronic waste. We all have a role in reducing the burden of e-waste, and together we can transform this silent crisis into a movement of action. The e-waste crisis is a mirror of our modern world, a world obsessed with speed, innovation, and consumption, yet often blind to the costs. Behind every glowing screen is a hidden trail of mining, manufacturing, and eventually discarding. Behind every discarded phone is the possibility that it contributes to a global chain of harm. A child in Ghana, Nigeria, or India breathing in lead dust from burning wires, or a river poisoned by dumped circuit boards. Behind every new upgrade is a question: what kind of future are we building? The good news is we still have time to change course. We can choose sustainability over speed, durability over disposability, responsibility over convenience. The future of our planet and of millions of people depends on it. Thank you for watching. If you found this documentary informative, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories that matter.